Hello students, welcome to today's Class 10 Democratic Politics lesson. In this chapter, we are going to explore a very important idea that lies at the heart of democracy, the concept of power sharing. Now think about this for a moment. In any society, people are different. They speak different languages, follow different religions, and belong to different cultures. If all the power is given to just one group, what do you think will happen? Will everyone feel included? Or will some feel ignored? This is exactly why democracies focus on sharing power. Power sharing means distributing power among different groups and institutions so that everyone has a say in how the country is governed. In this chapter, we will understand why power sharing is necessary, how it works in real life, and what happens when it is ignored. We will learn through real-world examples, especially from two countries, Belgium and Sri Lanka. And we will also explore different forms of power sharing that modern democracies follow. By the end of this lesson, you will understand that sharing power is not about weakening a country, but actually about strengthening unity and stability. Let us begin with the story of Belgium, a small country in Europe. Although it is smaller in size than the Indian state of Haryana, it has a very diverse population. Belgium has a population of a little over 1 crore people, and these people are divided into different linguistic groups. Around 59% of the population lives in the Flemish region and speaks Dutch. About 40% live in the Wallonia region and speak French. A small minority of about 1% speaks German. Now here comes an interesting twist. The capital city, Brussels, does not follow the same pattern as the rest of the country. In Brussels, about 80% of the people speak French, while only 20% speak Dutch. So you can already see that Belgium is a country with a complex mix of languages and communities, and such diversity often creates challenges in governance. Because of this diversity, Belgium experienced serious tensions between its communities. The French-speaking minority was relatively rich and powerful. On the other hand, the Dutch-speaking majority felt that they were not treated equally, especially in terms of economic development and education. This imbalance created resentment among the Dutch-speaking people. They felt that although they were the majority, they were not getting their fair share of opportunities. These tensions became very strong during the 1950s and 1960s. The situation was even more complicated in Brussels, where the Dutch-speaking people were a minority, despite being the majority in the country as a whole. Such a situation could have easily led to conflict or even division of the country. But Belgium chose a different path, which we will explore shortly. Now let us move to another country, Sri Lanka, an island nation located just south of Tamil Nadu. It has a population of around 2 crore people and is also a diverse society. In Sri Lanka, about 74% of the population are Sinhala speakers, while about 18% are Tamil speakers. The Tamil community itself is divided into two groups. One group, known as Sri Lankan Tamils, are natives of the country and mainly live in the northern and eastern parts. The other group, called Indian Tamils, are descendants of workers who were brought from India during the colonial period. Religion also adds to this diversity. Most Sinhala-speaking people are Buddhists, while most Tamil-speaking people are Hindus or Muslims. Around 7% of the population are Christians, belonging to both Sinhala and Tamil communities. So like Belgium, Sri Lanka also has multiple communities with different languages and cultures. After gaining independence in 1948, Sri Lanka faced an important decision how to manage this diversity. Unfortunately, the leaders chose a path called majoritarianism. Majoritarianism is the idea that the majority community should rule the country according to its own wishes without considering the interests of minority groups. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala majority tried to establish its dominance through several government policies. In 1956, a law was passed declaring Sinhala as the only official language, ignoring Tamil completely. The government also introduced policies that favored Sinhala people in university admissions and government jobs. In addition, the constitution gave special protection to Buddhism, the religion of the majority. These decisions made the minority Tamil community feel excluded and discriminated against. As a result of these policies, the Tamil community began to feel alienated. They felt that their language, culture, and political rights were not respected. They also believed that they were being denied equal opportunities in education and employment. This led to growing dissatisfaction among the Tamil population. To express their demands, Tamils formed political organizations and started movements. They demanded recognition of Tamil as an official language, equal opportunities in jobs and education, and greater regional autonomy. However, their demands were not accepted, and this only increased tensions between the communities. Over time, the situation became worse. By the 1980s, some Tamil groups started demanding a separate independent country called Tamil Eelam in the northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. This demand led to a violent civil war between the government and Tamil groups. Thousands of people lost their lives, many families were forced to leave their homes, and the country's economy suffered greatly. This conflict continued for many years and finally came to an end in 2009. This example shows how refusing to share power can lead to serious conflict and even violence. Now let us go back to Belgium and see how it handled a similar situation differently. Instead of allowing conflict to grow, Belgian leaders recognized the importance of respecting diversity. They decided to share power among different communities. Between 1970 and 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times to create a system that would allow all communities to live together peacefully. This approach is known as accommodation, adjusting and sharing power in a way that respects all groups. Belgium developed a unique model of power sharing. The first major part of this model was equal representation. The constitution mandated that the number of Dutch and French-speaking ministers in the central government must be equal. This meant that no single community could make major decisions on its own, as certain special laws required the support of the majority from each linguistic group. Secondly, the Belgian model emphasized power for the regions. Many powers of the central government were handed over to the state governments of the 2 main regions. Crucially, these state governments were not subordinate to the central government. They had their own autonomy. Third, they created a separate government for the capital city, Brussels. In this government, both communities, the French and the Dutch, have equal representation. This was a fair compromise because the French speakers in Brussels accepted equal representation there, since the Dutch speakers had accepted equal representation in the central government. Finally, they introduced a unique third tier of government called the community government. This government is elected by people belonging to one language community, Dutch, French, or German, no matter where they live in the country. This community government has the power to handle cultural, educational and language-related issues. While this system might sound very complicated, and even Belgians find it complex sometimes, it has been remarkably successful. These arrangements helped avoid civic strife between the linguistic communities and prevented a possible division of the country along linguistic lines. The success of this model was so widely recognized that when many countries of Europe came together to form the European Union, Brussels was chosen as its headquarters. When we compare Belgium and Sri Lanka, we see two very different approaches. Belgium respected diversity and shared power, which helped maintain unity. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, tried to impose the dominance of the majority, which led to conflict and civil war. This comparison clearly shows that power sharing is essential for maintaining peace and unity in a diverse society. Now let us understand why power sharing is important. One set of reasons is called prudential reasons. Prudential reasons are based on careful thinking about gains and losses. Power sharing helps reduce conflicts between different social groups. When people feel included, they are less likely to fight. It also ensures political stability because conflicts and violence can disrupt governance. If the majority tries to dominate, it may seem beneficial in the short term, but in the long run, it harms the entire nation. Even the majority can suffer due to instability and conflict. The second set of reasons is moral. These are based on the intrinsic value of power sharing itself. Simply put, power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. A truly democratic rule involves sharing power with those who are affected by its exercise and who have to live with its effects. People have a right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. A legitimate government is one where citizens, through participation, acquire a stake in the system. So while prudential reasons stress that power sharing will bring out better outcomes, moral reasons emphasize that the act of power sharing is valuable in its own right. Let us now look at an interesting example from Beirut, a city in Lebanon. This city had many communities living together, but it experienced a severe civil war. To bring peace, leaders created a system of power sharing based on religion. According to this system, the president must be a Maronite Catholic, the prime minister a Sunni Muslim, the deputy prime minister an Orthodox Christian, and the speaker a Shia Muslim. Under this pact, the Christians agreed not to seek protection from France, and the Muslims agreed not to seek unification with neighboring Syria. When this agreement was made, the populations were nearly equal. But even though Muslims are now the majority, the pact is still followed. This brings us to Khalil's dilemma. Khalil is a man whose parents come from different religious backgrounds. He finds the sectarian system frustrating and wants a normal democracy where anyone who gets the most votes can become president regardless of their community. However, the elders in his city, who lived through the bloody civil war, believe the system is the only guarantee for peace. This example shows that power-sharing arrangements can sometimes be complex, but they may be necessary for maintaining peace. The way we think about power has changed over time. For a long while, it was believed that all power must reside in one person or one group located in one place, otherwise, quick decisions would be impossible. But these notions changed with the emergence of democracy. The basic principle of democracy is that people are the source of all political power. In a good democratic government, due respect is given to diverse groups and views, and everyone has a voice in the shaping of public policies. Therefore, in a democracy, political power should be distributed among as many citizens as possible. This ensures participation, accountability, and fairness in governance. In modern democracies, power sharing can take several forms. The first is the horizontal distribution of power. This is when power is shared among different organs of government, like the legislature, executive, and judiciary. They are placed at the same level so that each can exercise different powers. This creates a system of checks and balances. No organ can exercise unlimited power. For example, even though ministers exercise power, they are responsible to Parliament. Similarly, while judges are appointed by the executive, they can check the functioning of the executive or laws made by the legislatures. The second form is the vertical division of power, also known as federal power sharing. This involves sharing power among governments at different levels. There is usually a general government for the entire country, which we call the central or union government in India, and then governments at the provincial or regional level, which we call state governments. In a true federal system, like in Belgium, the constitution clearly lays down the powers of each level. This can even extend further down to local levels like municipalities and panchayats. Sri Lanka, unfortunately, refused to adopt this kind of division. Power can also be shared among different social groups, such as religious and linguistic groups. Belgium's community government is a perfect example of this. In some countries, there are constitutional and legal arrangements where socially weaker sections and women are represented in the legislatures and administration. In India, we use the system of reserved constituencies in assemblies and parliament. This method is used to give minority communities a fair share in power and to ensure they don't feel alienated from the government. The fourth form is found in the way political parties, pressure groups, and movements control or influence those in power. In a democracy, the competition between different parties ensures that power does not remain in one hand. Sometimes this sharing is direct, like in a coalition government, where two or more parties form an alliance to contest elections and then share power if they win. A great example was the 2005 Grand Coalition in Germany between the Christian Democratic Union and the Social Democratic Party, two rivals who joined forces because neither had a majority. We also see power sharing through interest groups such as traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers, and industrial workers. They have a share in governmental power, either through participation in governmental committees or by bringing pressure to bear on the decision-making process. To see these principles in action, look at the judiciary versus executive in India. For instance, the Bombay High Court once ordered the Maharashtra government to take immediate action to improve the living conditions for children in children's homes. That's horizontal power sharing. Or look at Canada, where the government of Ontario reached an agreement with an Aboriginal community regarding land claims, showing how power can be shared with social groups through mutual respect. We also see this in political alliances, like in Russia, where the Union of Right Forces and Yabloko united to form a single coalition for elections. And in Nigeria, we see federal or vertical sharing in action when state finance ministers demanded that the federal government reveal its sources of income and use a fair formula for sharing revenue among the states. When we look at the world today, many modern wars and civil strifes are actually rooted in disputes over how power is shared. However, many of these conflicts can be resolved by working out inclusive power-sharing arrangements. It's a lesson for every society, even small countries or those without major social divisions need some form of power sharing to maintain peace and efficiency. One of the most important forms of power sharing in India is the Panchayati Raj system, which was based on the dreams of Mahatma Gandhi. This is true democracy because it restores power to the people at the grassroots level. By involving people directly in the planning and execution of local projects, it helps reduce corruption, increases administrative efficiency, and eliminates the need for corrupt middlemen. However, the world shows us different trends. In 2005, Russia passed laws that gave more power to the president, which is an example of the concentration of power rather than its distribution. Meanwhile, in Germany, rival parties were forced into a coalition because the voters didn't give a clear majority to anyone, proving that even groups with very different positions can work together to run a government. These examples show that power sharing is essential for maintaining democratic balance. Looking back at our main case studies, Sri Lanka's failure to share power through its 1956 Act led to a sense of exclusion and a 30-year civil war. In contrast, Belgium's success came from shifting from a unitary to a federal government, which respected its diverse population and prevented the country from splitting apart. Let us now quickly summarize what we have learned. Power sharing is an essential feature of democracy. It ensures that power is not concentrated in the hands of a few, but distributed among different groups and institutions. The example of Belgium shows that sharing power can maintain unity and peace, while the example of Sri Lanka shows that ignoring diversity can lead to conflict. Power sharing is desirable for both prudential reasons, such as stability and peace, and moral reasons, such as fairness and democratic values. It can take many forms among different organs of government, different levels of government, social groups, and political parties. In the end, power sharing strengthens democracy. It ensures participation, builds trust, and creates a stable and united nation. Thank you for joining this lesson, and I hope this helped you understand why sharing power is so essential for a peaceful and united society. If you liked this video, please share the channel link with your classmates on WhatsApp and other social media platforms. Bye for now. See you soon in the next video.